Why does Vonnegut include the brief scene of the refugee girls in the shower?
I think he includes the scene of the shower because for a male, I guess it's a big part of losing their innocence or their sanity, and it's this new experience that none of them had ever seen before, and something like that can lead to a different mindset.
Yeah, I agree. And he's like kind of losing his innocence that he had before, and that was one of the things that made him lose his innocence.
In an earlier chapter, we were told that death to the Tralfamadorians is only a sort of hum, a comforting background sound. Vonnegut artfully has inserted in this chapter a variation on that hum, explaining the symbolism employed by Vonnegut.
Well, to Billy, his death was also a hum too, because he kind of looked forward to it. He was kind of like he accepted it for what it was, and he didn't try to stop it. It was an inevitable thing that he looked forward to.
No matter what, death is unstoppable, so to him it was probably unimportant, just like it was to the Tralfamadorians.
Yeah, he looked at it as something peaceful, not something like he would try to stop, like unlike most people would. What is symbolized by the syrup on page 160?
In chapter 7? I think something so simple just brought them a new light of hope and, this new warmth to them because they had just gone through so many horrible things and like experience. Explain the symbolism of the character Howard W. Campbell Jr.
I think Howard W. Campbell Jr. represents weakness because he kind of gave into like what they were offering him. So like he gave into temptation, and I guess maybe he realized that and he tried to bring in more people, not only like to help the Russians, but like to, I guess, make himself feel better. Like, okay, I wasn't the only one that gave into temptation, all these other people too. And he especially tried making other people fall also by, for example, like he made the people that were starving, like he was offering them food if they participated in the war, and yeah.
Okay.
And if they did, it would show like a sign of weakness. Explain the character Kilgore Trout in relation to the themes and other characters of the book.
Kilgore Trout is a writer, but his ideas aren't very good, but most of his topics are very similar.
Open perspective and putting his thoughts in like little novels that Billy happened to read, and felt like a certain like connection with him because it was about aliens. Like it was about like extraterrestrials.
Trout is one of the first people that makes this connection to Billy, making Billy believe that he can time travel because Trout says that he has gone through a time window, and from that point on, Billy takes this type of appreciation towards Trout because he sees him like he understands what he's going through and the motions of things, so they can relate in that type of topic.
Discuss the effect of the barbershop music on Billy in this chapter.
Billy feels really nostalgic over the barbershop incident because it reminds him of the time that the Dresden War occurred and how they were all waiting outside of a meat locker, and once he came back, he saw the faces of his his four.
It triggered a sad and like a remorseful emotion.
Because it reminded him of the four guards, and to him, in words, it was a silent film of the barber shop quartet. It was just a simple reminder of what he had gone through.
Yeah, like it reminded him of it, like post-traumatic stress caused by like everything he went through in the war, and like a flow of like he was like overwhelmed by emotion and like confusion, like as to like why he felt that way. Like he felt like that when he listened to it. to the music.
Exactly. In this chapter, Vonnegut recapitulates many themes developed earlier in the book. Cite examples.
So some examples is when he like travels back in time and remembers when he went through the plane crash and how his wife got in a car accident and how then they goes into detail on how she dies, and when he reads the book from Topaz from Trout.
Billy speaking out, however, also takes a pathetic turn in this chapter. Explain.
So, when he speaks out, everyone kind of sees him like he gets sent out, and it makes sense because imagine seeing someone. Okay, you read a book about something, and then someone comes and speaks out about the exact same experiences that are in another book, and they claim that they've experienced those exact same things. Like, it doesn't seem very realistic that would happen. It seems more like the person isn't like
trying to get
insane.
the attention.
Yeah, not really insane, but they're like not right in their mind because they believe something that they've probably read off of a book, and it probably seemed like not very realistic. And since the book was labeled as sci-fi, it doesn't seem as something that people would probably believe. And maybe that's why it turned into like it was like a pathetic turn because they sent him outside.
People probably believe he's delusional if he's referring back to a sci-fi book. You know, it's kind of hard to
as
believe
his
in that.
own experience.
Especially if he's been abducted by aliens, something that people find completely crazy and astonishing.
A lot of people don't believe, especially like nowadays. Next question. How is the prayer that Montana wears around her neck symbolic? What is the association between the prayer and Billy's behavior during this chapter?
The necklace can be symbolized as serenity because it brought her peace and it brought her this new connection to Billy. And in Billy's optometrist office, he had that there so people could see it. Because even though he was before in the previous chapter, he talked about how he was unenthusiastic of life. It now and like leading on into these chapters, he found this new serenity and he found this new connection.
When people have like a prayer somewhere, it's usually like as a sign of like hope and like it kind of keeps you going, you know, and especially in like times of like trouble, I guess. So,
from what you know about Charles Darwin's theory of evolution, is Vonnegut accurate when he writes, Charles Darwin, who taught that those who die are meant to die, that corpses are improvements?
Well, I believe that like it is true because but they don't mean it in like a literal way. Like they mean it in like symbolically or like figuratively, because it's saying that he hoped for a better man, one that like goes away in war and that looks for peace, and like getting rid of the old man, like it says in the Bible, and also how like the same way that how what's his name, Billy Pilgrim was looking at the movie backwards, and how everything looked like they were looking for like a better future without war and fixing everything to create, and then ending up creating two perfect human beings, which was Adam and Eve.
So it's like in more of a metaphorical term, rather than literal. How does the narrative point of view change in the last chapter? What is the effect of the literary strategy?
Well, it changes into like a hopeful manner, like hopeful for like the future. Like he has hope that even though that he knows that there isn't like no point, and that man is always gonna have war on Earth, and it's like inevitable, and it kind of ends like in a sad note, because like he knows that some things can never be changed, but some things like could also never be forgotten.
And then again, it also shows his development throughout the story, how he's grown to understand the reality of things and care. So it shows his growth.
Yeah.
Why does Vonnegut consider his plane ride back from Dresden one of the nicest moments of his life? What is the author suggesting by underscoring this moment? What he Vonnegut considers this one of the nicest moments of his life because after all the war and seeing all the dead bodies and the corruption that was within, he
like he's like flying away from it all.
you know,
and then, like flying away from the
go,
death that he saw from the city, and just that alone is something to be.
He's letting go of the past. It's like a new beginning, even. You know, when you move from something so harsh and so cruel that's like traumatized you and left this large impact and imprint on you, you just let go of this burden, and it becomes an underscoring moment. You know, it's this new light. What does Edgar Derby's execution symbolize? I think it symbolized how,
like, the stupidity
of
war.
How meaningless it was. How are you gonna compare a huge war to a teapot set?
Yeah.
Like
that, even if something great is like something chaotic is happening, and then they decide to focus on something so small and meaningless that won't even matter, and they execute him for him.
It's kind of it's selfish, even, really.
Yeah.
There's no point into it.
Like, what's the point of focusing on something like that when there's something so much bigger happening, like going on in the moment, you know?
Does Slaughterhouse 5 end on a happy note? I think it ends on both a happy note and a sad note, because as Kristy was saying before, some things are just, they can't change, and some people can't change either. But it is a happy note because it's this new growth. Because
of the way he gets like a new wisdom from the Chalfamodorians. It's like a knowledge that like is gonna stay with him forever. Like it's like what they kind of tell him about everything kind of brings him a certain, not like a certain peace in a way. And it also brings the concept of nature, and nature can be seen as, you know, this new growth and light, something pure. So it's starting from a new point. That's all for today. Hope you guys enjoyed this segment of PCK. Tune in next month where we review another book that is yet to be determined.
And that is all for today. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Have a good day.